নমস্কার, আমি লন্ডন থেকে বলছি শারদা সরকার। আমরা সিস্টার নিবেদিতার একটি ব্রোঞ্জ স্ট্যাচু উইম্বলডনে স্থাপনা করলাম। তো সেই উদ্বোধনী অনুষ্ঠান আপনাদের সঙ্গে আমরা শেয়ার করে নিচ্ছি, ভাগ করে নিচ্ছি। আপনাদের নিশ্চয়ই খুব ভালো লাগবে। আপনারা নিশ্চয়ই সবাই জানেন যে ভগিনী নিবেদিতা উইম্বলডনে একটি স্কুল চালাতেন এবং স্বামী বিবেকানন্দ এখানে এসে অনেকদিন ছিলেন এবং নিবেদিতা স্কুল দেখে ওনার মনে হয়েছিল যে এরকম একটি স্কুল কলকাতায় করতে পারলে অনেক অনেক ছাত্রীর উপকার হবে। তো সেই কথা মাথায় রেখেই আমাদের উইম্বলডনে নিবেদিতার কিছু আবার স্মৃতি জাগিয়ে তোলার চেষ্টা করেছি আমরা সিস্টার নিবেদিতা সেলিব্রেশনস ইউকে থেকে। আমাদের প্রথম কাজটি শুরু হয়েছিল 2017 সালে। ব্লু প্ল্যাক, তার বাড়িতে ব্লু প্ল্যাক আমরা ইংলিশ হেরিটেজ থেকে অ্যাপ্লাই করেছিলাম, ইংলিশ হেরিটেজ ব্লু প্ল্যাক লাগানোর ব্যবস্থা করেছিল। তো তারপরে সেটা ছিল 2017 সাল। তারপরে আমরা অ্যাপ্লিকেশন করেছিলাম যে নিবেদিতার একটি স্ট্যাচু হলে ভালো হয় উইম্বলডনে, কারণ সবাই তো ভুলে গেছে। তো উনি এত বড় একজন এত স্ট্রং মহিলা ছিলেন তখনকার দিনে। তখন ওরা আমাদের অ্যাপ্লিকেশন ওরা গ্রাহ্য করেনি, কিন্তু একজন কাউন্সিলর, তার নাম নাজিব লাতিফ, তার কাছে আমরা কৃতজ্ঞ, চিরকৃতজ্ঞ। উনি আমাদের হয়ে এই লড়াইটা এগিয়ে নিয়ে যান এবং আলটিমেটলি আমরা পারমিশনটা পাই। পারমিশনটা পাওয়ার পরে তারপরে মেন যে চ্যালেঞ্জ সেটা হচ্ছে টাকা পয়সার কি করে জোগাড় হবে। তো যাই হোক, আমাদের বেদান্ত সেন্টার, লন্ডন বেদান্ত সেন্টারের যিনি মহারাজ, আমাদের পরম পূজনীয় স্বামী সর্বস্থানন্দজি, ওনার সাহায্যে আমরা সেই অর্থ সংগ্রহ করতে সমর্থ হই এবং আমাদের জন্য এই স্ট্যাচুটি বানিয়ে দিয়েছেন সারগাছি রামকৃষ্ণ মিশনের মহারাজ তুষার মহারাজ স্বামী বিশ্বময়ানন্দজি এবং তার যে সহকারী নির্জন দে। তারপরে আমাদের স্ট্যাচুর খরচ বাবদ আমরা হেল্প পেয়েছি বিধাননগর রামকৃষ্ণ বিবেকানন্দ কেন্দ্রের ডক্টর চঞ্চল দে এবং ইউনিভার্সিটি অফ ইঞ্জিনিয়ারিং অ্যান্ড ম্যানেজমেন্ট ইউনিভার্সিটির মিস্টার সত্যজিৎ চক্রবর্তীর কাছ থেকে। উনি আমাদের অকুণ্ঠভাবে সাহায্য করেছেন এবং তাছাড়াও এখানে অগণিত ভক্তবৃন্দ ইউকে, ইউএসএ, সাউথ আফ্রিকা, মরিশাস, ইউরোপ সব জায়গা থেকে কিছু কিছু দান পাঠান এবং সেই টাকাতেই আমাদের আজকে এই অনুষ্ঠানটি করা সম্ভব হয়েছে। আমরা যে কয়েকজন মানুষের কাছে চিরকৃতজ্ঞ, সে হলো মার্কাস বিল, যে আমাদের আর্কিটেক্ট, যে স্কুলের হেড টিচার রিকার্ডস লজ স্কুল, যার সামনে আমাদের এটা স্ট্যাচুটা করা হয়েছে। তাদের মোটো হচ্ছে এডুকেটিং সাকসেসফুল উইমেন ফর দ্য ফিউচার, মানে ভবিষ্যতে মহিলারা যাতে সশক্তিকরণ হয় তাদের জন্য, সেটাই তাদের স্কুলের উদ্দেশ্য এবং সেটার সঙ্গে নিবেদিতারও প্রচুর মিল আছে। তার জন্য ওই স্কুলের সামনেই আমরা ঠিক করি যেটা করা হবে। তারপরে এছাড়াও তো আমাদের এখানে অনেকেই প্রচুর হেল্প করেছেন। সুমিতা করের নাম বলতে হয়, আমাদের অ্যাকাউন্ট মেনটেন করেছেন উনি। অভিজিৎ পাল আমাদের ব্রশিওর অনেক সাহায্য করেছেন, ব্রশিওর প্রিন্ট আউট করাতে। ডক্টর ইলা বাসু এবং সুনীতি বাসু আমাদের প্রচুর হেল্প করেছেন। স্বামী জ্ঞানসুধানন্দজি, ওনার নাম অরুণ মহারাজ, উনি আমাদের প্রচুর হেল্প করেছেন। শান্তাত্মানন্দজি মহারাজ, যিনি দিল্লিতে ছিলেন, উনি প্রচুর হেল্প করেছেন। এছাড়াও আমাদের ব্রাজিলের মহারাজ এসেছিলেন, স্বামীজি আমাদের ব্রাজিল থেকে, সাও পাওলো থেকে এসে ঘুরে যাওয়ার পথে লন্ডনে উনি একটু ব্রেক জার্নি করেন, তখন উনি আমাদের এখানে এসেছিলেন আমাদের এটা মানে স্ট্যাচু আনভেল করার জন্য। এছাড়াও প্রচুর মানুষের অকুণ্ঠ সাহায্য আমরা পেয়েছি এবং আপনাদের প্রাণারাম বাংলার সকল দর্শকের কাছে আমার প্রণাম, আভূমি প্রণাম। এছাড়াও সব থেকে যেটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট কথা না বললেই নয়, সিস্টার নিবেদিতার ফ্যামিলি থেকে এসেছিলেন, ওনার বোনের পরিবার মে উইলসন, যে ওনার প্রত্যেক পরিবারের বহু সদস্য এসেছিলেন, তাদের কাছে আমরা চিরকৃতজ্ঞ। আপনারা এনজয় করুন, কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকলে জানাবেন, আমি নিশ্চয়ই উত্তর দেওয়ার চেষ্টা করব। ধন্যবাদ।
রাম কৃষ্ণ শরণম, রাম কৃষ্ণ শরণম শরণে।
And this has come down from Victoria.
But it was this very place where Swami Vivekananda inspired her to dedicate her everything to God and of course to India for the education of Indian women. But the main thing that inspired her when he spoke in London, in Pimlico, he said, I want 20 young men or women who can stand on the yonder street and who can say that I want nothing but God. So that was the central message which initially struck her and that inspired her to just give her everything to the cause of Swami, her master Swami Vivekananda, and we all know we'll be talking about it. The first statue was in Torrington, and we are very happy that this is a very prime area, a wonderful place where all the people of London who pass by will be inspired by her divine presence, inspiring generations to come. So I thank all of you for coming here, and it's a privilege to be part of this celebration. Thank you.
have to apologize that I have to read from this paper because there are so many people to thank here, so please allow me to do that. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, today we stand at the threshold of a truly historic moment as history unfolds before our eyes. It is with great pride and joy that we celebrate the momentous occasion of Wimbledon becoming the proud recipient of the magnificent bronze statue of Sister Nivedita, coinciding with her 155th birth anniversary and the 75th year of Indian independence. We call it Sadhinata's Amrit Mahotsav. On this momentous day, we extend our heartfelt gratitude to all those who have been contributing their time, resources, and unwavering support to make this dream a reality. The inception of this idea took place during the Blue Plaque ceremony of English Heritage at 21A Wimbledon High Street in 2017 by Sister Nivedita Celebrations UK. Initially, it seemed like an impossible task. With the Holy Trinity's blessing, it became possible. Our heartfelt appreciation goes to Revered Swami Sarvasthanaji Maharaj, the Minister in charge of Ramakrishna Vedanta Center UK, who guided us through the challenging times and played a pivotal role in raising funds through crowdfunding. We express our sincere thanks to Swamiji. Swamiji, namaste. We also express our sincere thanks to Revered Swami Nirmalakhanandaji Maharaj for gracing the occasion today. Thank you, Swamiji, for coming. Our sincere appreciation goes to Mr. Najib Latif, who not only brought the application forward, but fought tirelessly for the cause. It was through Mr. Latif's introduction that we were fortunate enough to collaborate with Mr. Marcus Beale, the architect, who has played an instrumental role in determining the perfect location and obtaining the necessary permissions. Mr. Beale's expertise and commitment have made him an invaluable asset to our project. We would also like to express our gratitude to Future Martin for their assistance in finding the ideal site for the corner of the Lake Road at Leopold Road. The statue now adorns a prominent corner in front of Ricards Lodge High School, serving a focal point and a vibrant landmark that breathes life into what was once only a featureless traffic island. The backdrop of mature flowering trees adds to the statue's beauty and significance. Throughout this journey, Mr. Marcus Beale played a crucial role, from establishing the statue's location to liaising with the fabricators in Bengal and ensuring its safe installation in a public land. We extend our heartfelt thanks to Multilateral, the structural engineers, and FM Conway, the contractors, for their invaluable help and unwavering professionalism in making this dream a reality. Following the acquisition of permissions, the primary challenge was to secure funds through crowdfunding. Wimbledon will forever remain indebted to Revered Swami Vishwamayanandaji of Sarvati Ramakrishna Mission and his assistant Mr. Nirjan De for their dedication in building such a beautiful statue. We also extend our gratitude to Dr. Chanchal De, Secretary of Bidhannagar Ramakrishna Vivekananda Kendra, and Mr. Satyajit Chakraborty of University of Engineering and Management, Kolkata, for their generous donations towards the statue. We are grateful to Dr. Ila and Smriti Basu for their unconditional help and support in every matter, may it be financial or moral based. Today is Sunitika's birthday, so happy birthday, Sunitika. May God grant you a very healthy and happy life. Can you all clap? Additionally, we extend our thanks to all individuals who generously donated through the Facebook fundraiser and directly from various parts of the world, including USA, UK, South Africa, Europe, and India. The contribution of Ramakrishna Mission devotees worldwide have been invaluable in realizing this noble cause. While their names are too numerous to mention individually, we are forever grateful for their unwavering support. Special thanks to Sumita Kaur, who has been announcing now, for diligently maintaining the account. We would like to express our gratitude to Mr. Abhijit Pal for his assistance in printing the brochure and extend our thanks to Shrikant and his team of volunteers for ensuring the smooth running of the program. We are also thankful to Mr. Rajesh Mitra, the District Magistrate of Murshidabad, and Ms. Reena Mitra, IPS, for their invaluable support in overcoming administrative challenges in India. Our sincere appreciation goes to Revered Swami Gyanasudhanandaji Maharaj for his daily guidance throughout this project, and to Revered Swami Shantatmanandaji Maharaj for his support during these difficult times. We would also like to express our gratitude to Madam Mayor and the councillors for gracing us with their presence on this auspicious occasion. Our sincere thanks goes to Mrs. Kate Page for the head teacher of Ricardo High School for her assistance in launching the statue in Wimbledon, and to the girls of Ricards Lodge School for their care and future commitment as soldiers of Sister Nivedita. So a round of applause for the girls here and the boys here. Okay, now here I would like to mention Sister Nivedita Celebrations UK wants to award a student every year for the most improved students category prize from us. This is our saying thanks to the girls of Ricardo High School. I hope that they will accept it. Last but certainly not least, we extend our heartfelt thanks to Mountain Council for their support and cooperation in this matter. We hope they will take the responsibility for ongoing maintenance for this beautiful statue. This is my request. I know you are smiling, but yeah, this is the request. Okay, today as we gather for the special event, we can't help but remember and appreciate the presence of those who are not with us physically, but would have been overjoyed to witness this program, this occasion. One such person is Mr. Chris Orban, who, the beloved grandnephew of Sister Nivedita, who sadly passed away a few months ago at the age of 93. I hold dear the memory of the generous £100 donation he graciously sent as soon as he learned about our fundraising efforts. Today I extend a heartfelt welcome to Dr. Orban and his family, grateful for their presence and the spontaneous involvement of Nivedita's family in this meaningful gathering. This is the first thing happening in history. So can we say thank you? Another individual who would have filled with happiness today is my grandmother, who attended Sister Nivedita school back in 1910. When she went to school, Sister Nivedita just given the charge to Sister Christine. Sister Christine used to carry grandma in her lap to school. And Dida have seen Holy Mother, Sri Sharada Devi, regularly as a primary school student. Dida's joy would have been no bounds on this occasion. In addition, we are honored to have distinguished presence of Mr. and Mrs. Ruth Harris, esteemed writers. We eagerly anticipate the wisdom and insight they wish to share with us later. Furthermore, I extend warm welcome to Sally Kenny and Joan Henry. I think she's not in today, but I've written my message. The esteemed councillors from the Mountain Council for their invaluable support and presence. In conclusion, we stand here today humbled and grateful as history converges with our aspirations. The magnificent bronze statue of Sister Nivedita will serve as an eternal symbol of inspiration and embody the principles and values she held dear. This remarkable achievement has only been possible through the collective efforts, constant support and contribution of numerous individuals and organizations. If I have missed your name, that is unintentional. We thank each one of you for your immeasurable support and dedication in bringing this statue to Wimbledon. May this statue be a beacon of hope enlightenment, and unity for generations to come. Thank you.
Nahi surjo, nahi jyoti, nahi shashanko sundaro, nahi surjo, nahi jyoti, nahi shashanko sundaro, bhashe bhumi chaya shoro, bhashe bhumi chaya shoro, chhobi bishwa charachara, nahi surjo অসুর মনো আকাশে জগৎ সংসার ভাসে, অসুর মনো আকাশে জগৎ সংসার ভাসে, ওঠে ভাসে ডুবে ওঠে ভাসে ডুবে অহং স্রোতে নিরন্তর, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, ধীরে ধীরে ছায়া মহালয়ে প্রবেশিল, পরে মাত্র আমি আমি এই ধারা অনুক্ষণ, সে ধারা বদ্ধ শূন্যে শূন্যে মিলাইল, সে ধারা বদ্ধ হল, শূন্যে শূন্যে মিলাইল, আবার মনস গোচরম, আবার মনস গোচরম, বুঝে প্রাণ বুঝে যার, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি, নাহি শশাঙ্ক সুন্দর, নাহি সূর্য নাহি জ্যোতি।
Welcome to Rickles Lodge High School, everybody. My name is Kate Page and I'm the new head teacher of Rickles. So if you've lived in the Wimbledon area for a long time, you might be unfamiliar with me. I began my tenure on September 1st of this school year, having taken over from a wonderful Alison Gerard, who steered a steady ship here for 17 years. Miss Gerard first met with Mr. Marcus Beale, the architect of the project, in November 2019. And then COVID hit and the world turned upside down. In October 22, I was contacted by Mrs. Sarada Sharka to request a meeting with Mr. Beale to update me on the plans of the project, and we quickly followed with a face-to-face meeting and drafted a plan for our school to get ready for the arrival of the statue. At the time we agreed, I would inform the school community about the plans afoot and explained to all that the reason a specific position had been chosen for the statue on the corner of Lake Road and Leopold Road was because it was outside our school, a girls' school in Wimbledon Village. The short narrative I gave my leadership team and the governors was that Margaret Noble was a frugal educationist who set up a girls' school in both Wimbledon and Kolkata. She campaigned for Indian independence. She was a prolific writer. She has a blue plaque in Wimbledon Village. She still has a school named after her in Kolkata. She worked with a man called Swami Vivekananda, who was a monk, philosopher, interfaith leader, writer, educationist, youth advocate, and she became known to all as Sister Nivedita. It was explained to me that the money for the project was raised by a charity and all the planning permissions were in place. The bronze statue, the granite plinth were all being made in India and were to be shipped to the UK in mid-November. At the time, the council's aim was for the statue to be erected before Christmas. Hurrah! We had a week of assemblies planned to be delivered on the story behind the statue for the students in time for the unveiling. So, as you see, look around you, what a wonderful Christmas we are having. I say all this in jest because I think it tells a helpful narrative of the complexities of an ambition such as this one. With the best laid plans of mice and men and women, life gets in the way. Remember, a global pandemic had already got in the way, and then there were the problems of sinking construction works with a hugely busy local authority. Most recently, after the statue had started its construction, we were given a notice of a request for planning permission for a mobile phone mast, quite close to the very same plot. Needless to say, I believe the application has been withdrawn and we are delighted that the statue has won the day. Emily, Shanita and Namra, our Year 10 cultural ambassadors, first met with me to plan their assembly at the start of the year. They went through several drafts and recorded their voices onto an assembly presentation so that it could be delivered remotely in every classroom when we were ready to go. We wanted our students to understand some of the history behind the appearance of the statue and the life of Sister Nivedita. We are a school who deeply values the heritage of our school community. We proudly call ourselves a multilingual school with 75 different languages spoken and 37% of our students learning in English when it is not their first language. Students are able to study many of their community languages at GCSE and A level. Our students do exceptionally well, and we believe that being able to communicate and understand more than one language is part of our superpower. We also highly value student voice, and the opportunity to get our girls involved in educating their school seems a very fitting tribute to the project. Our school motto, you can see it above, is educating the successful women of the future, a motto I believe Margaret Noble and later Sister Nivedita would have shared in sentiment. Our most recent act of celebration is to launch our own annual school prize, I don't know whether you knew about this, called the Sister Nivedita Peer Educator Prize, which will be awarded each year to a student who has demonstrated their skills in peer education in some way or another. It might be in running workshops, leading learning in classrooms, or indeed presenting in an assembly. I hope you enjoyed today, and I thank you all for coming along to Rickard's to join in the celebration of this remarkable woman who has clearly left a lasting legacy. I'm sure other speakers will share with you more detail about Sister Nivedita's life and the impact that she has had. But for now, I'd like to thank Ms. Wilford for gathering our volunteers, Mr. Papadopoulos for setting up the technology, our cultural ambassadors for developing and delivering the assembly, our student helpers for including today and doing the readings for us, members of the student leadership team who have come along to our school on a Saturday afternoon in their school uniform, well done and thank you. In July, and I'm sure there are other things they could have done, I'd like to say a big thank you to them. And now, after having welcomed you all, I shall pass you on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. George. Thank you And
good evening to each one of you. And Honorable dignitaries, Swami Sarvasthananji, devotees and friends, it's a very special day for everyone, not only who is here, but who are listening from, I think, online. It's a very special day for everyone. Doesn't matter whether he's in India or he's in London or elsewhere. Because the story of Nivedita is a journey, it's a transformation from Margaret to Nivedita, from Wimbledon to Calcutta, born in Christian faith but ending in Vedantic realization, a Western body but Eastern soul. It is a continuous transformation with inspiration and dedication. She has demonstrated it, and it is up to us to know what she was, what she represented, how her life was. I would also like to request everyone to go through the life and teachings, her writings, to know who she was. Many of us are participating, but it's more important is to go in depth. The statue that has been inaugurated now is not a statue. It is a symbol of inspiration, symbol of dedication. Whenever a young person sees, she reminds us that how important the life on earth is. She came in contact with many scientists. She came in contact with politicians, and she was so much interested in service, education, science, art, paintings, of course, politics. She was so much dedicated to every sphere of life. She fought for the freedom, not of the island, but of India. So this is something very interesting to know. So she met Rabindranath Tagore, and Huxley, and scientists like Jagadish Chandra Bose, and she had a vast knowledge of every field of science of the human being. So she was not just stuck up with some little small things on the earth. She represented the spirit of Swami Vivekananda stood for. Swami Vivekananda had no frontiers of human being. He inspired. Through her, we learn who Swami Vivekananda was. Through her, we learn many things which we do not know. So it is important to get into the life and teachings of Sister Nivedita to know who she was. It doesn't matter whether you are born here in the East or in the West. What is important is that you leave a mark on earth. Swami Vivekananda said, you are born on earth, leave a mark on earth. Our life is too short. The vanities of the world is too short. We are born here, but leave a mark on earth. Sister Nivedita really left a mark that not only just stays for 150 years or 100 years. As long as Swami Vivekananda's name is there, her name will continue. So therefore, it is up to us to open our heart to see, to read, to hear, and to contemplate the teachings of this great soul who inspired millions and millions and who will continue to inspire. We don't know how many and how many years. Jesus Christ was born 2000 years ago, and it goes on multiplying. The energy had left. 500 years before Christ, Buddha was born and it's continued to inspire. And 170 years ago, Sri Ramakrishna was born and continued to inspire. We don't know it. Maybe thousands of years it will go. But it's up to us to get inspired, to realize who we are in reality. We may be born as a human being, but not necessarily to end like that. So Swami Vivekananda said, it's better to be born in a church, but not to die there. That means we outgrow ourselves. Our potentiality is immense. There is no limit to your realization. That is what Sister Nivedita stood for. That is what Swami Vivekananda stood for. So we are here to remember that. We are here to get the inspiration from her. and we are here to get going in our life as much as possible, realize in this very life. Don't leave it for the next life. We don't know whether the next life what will happen, but here you are, here we are, and we do go as much as possible, get inspired, and that is what meant for this life. Thank you very much for the organizers for this event, and thank you very much for all the dignitaries who are here and on this occasion. And I'm just passing through in this place. I was in Dublin, and that way Dublin to London also great significance. And we are settled in Dublin, and I believe with this transformation, the Dublin Center in the name of Nivedita House will grow and grow enormously. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity. Namaste.
Right then, hello, how are you? I'm Jill, I'm your mayor in Merton, more by accident than design, but I'm very delighted to be here. Thank you so much for your invitation. I've long been a follower of religious practices from various parts of the world, myself being a Tibetan Buddhist by faith. However, I have sat and meditated in India, etc., etc., etc. So, this is an interesting story, and I'm not going to repeat everything that people have already said about Sister Nivedita, because you know that story, and I can't add anything new to that. But it strikes me, and in particular, the extraordinary comparison, I suppose, that this pioneer answered a call. And I find that in the era that she did that, to be really very brave in the late 19th century for a single white woman to have gone into Europe, let alone India, Calcutta. That's quite an achievement, and it requires of her to be fearless. And I always say, the more that I fear, the braver I become. And maybe that was how she operated. Who knows, I obviously don't have contact with her. However, there is an analogy that I would like to bring to your attention just for this moment in time, which is that 75 years ago this year, people in Jamaica answered a call and very bravely boarded the Windrush ship and came over here, not knowing what they were walking into, what was going to happen, and it was hard. And so I think her journey, if you really reflect on it, must have been equally, I guess, scary, exciting, and that tenuousness between will I survive and will I make a difference. And so I guess what I get from this today is that life is really, in comparison, very easy these days for many of us that want to travel and make a difference. And I am allergic to this wonderful motto here, educating successful women of the future. We stand on the shoulders of greatness, all of us. And so it's only fitting and right that we have the shoulders of a great woman just down the pathway. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time and congratulations.
I've got a few notes. I've only got 7 pages, so you can it's too long. I'm usually known for my prayers, which is one of my talents, I'm told. The whole point of Great Torrington, as some of you are aware, is that we were the site of the original statue that was unveiled in 2019 of Sister Nivedita, and I had the great privilege of being part of the unveiling ceremony. And the amazing story of this woman has stuck with me ever since. We've had a number of visits from the various people from the Indian community to come down to visit us. It's always been a tremendous pleasure. The fact that I was asked here today was indeed a genuine pleasure and privilege. Margaret Elizabeth Noble was born on the 28th of October 1867 in the town of Dungannon in County Tyrone in Ireland to Mary Isabel and Samuel Richmond Noble. I love this next bit because it's actually close to my heart being a Scot. The Nobles were of Scottish descent. They settled in Ireland for about 5 centuries, so there's still a bit of Scots in them. Her father was a pastor, and he was so influential in her life, and he taught her that service to mankind is the true service to God. When Margaret was 4 years old, the family went to live in Great Torrington in North Devon, where her father conducted services for the poor, and when he did that, she always accompanied him. She was very much part of his life, and he was a great influence on her. In 1891, Margaret settled here in Wimbledon and helped start a new school. The experiment in teaching gave her great joy, and after a year, Margaret started her own independent school in Kingsley Gate, where there were no restrictive methods of formal learning. The children learned through play, which in those days was a really novel idea. In 1895, the big adventure started when Margaret met Swami Vivekananda, and in 1898 she travelled to Calcutta, where the Swami gave her the name of Nivedita, which means dedicated to God. After a life of service to Indian nationalism and to girls in Calcutta, amongst many other things, she died in Darjeeling on the 13th of October, 1911, aged only 43. I was thinking when I was writing this, at the age of 43, what a shame that she died so early, and it always reminded me of Jared Manley Hopkins, who died very young as well, because he had really not looked after himself. He gave everything he had to other people, all his food. He didn't look after his own bodily health, and I suspect she did very much the same. She dedicated her entire life, her body, to others. In 2019, I was privileged as the Mayor of Great Torrington to unveil the first statue outside India to this extraordinary woman. I felt it fitting that this ceremony was held in the town where her life journey started, and it gives me particular pleasure to continue this tradition here today by paying my renewed respects to Margaret Elizabeth Noble, Sister Nivedita. Thank you.
Good afternoon. What an occasion. What an occasion. It is really my huge honour to be here today for this ceremony, to say a few words on behalf of my wider family about Sister Nivedita, born, as you've heard, Margaret Elizabeth Noble. With someone so remarkable, is relatively closely related to one, you would expect to know a fair bit about them and their story. However, that's not the case for me or any of my family, which makes her story all the more fascinating for us as a family. As many of you will know, Sister Nivedita did not have any children, so it was my wider family, descended from her sister Mary, also known as May, who are her closest living relations. Put most simply, she was my grandmother's aunt. I'm delighted to say that we have a good representation of that wider family present today to witness the ceremony, who are sitting in the front row over there, and I'll introduce them shortly. As you've heard already from the Mayor of Great Torrington, she was born Margaret Elizabeth Noble on the 28th of October 1867 in Dungannon, County Tyrone in Northern Ireland. The family moved to England, as you've heard again, and he went to the military and in Great Torrington, where the statue, as we know, was unveiled a few years ago. He died at the age of 34 of the complications of influenza, contracted while visiting his parishioners. and as we heard again, she would have accompanied her on many of these visits in her early years of her life. While their brother Richmond remained with her mother, Margaret, as she was known as then, and May were sent away to a convent for destitute priests' families, where discipline was brutal. Given her vocation and work in later life, it seems reasonable to assume that this instilled in her the importance of education and fair opportunities for women. Despite the challenges that she experienced in her own education, Sister Nivedita trained herself to become a teacher, and after a variety of roles, as we heard, she came to Wimbledon, as you will all know. Her time in Wimbledon shaped the rest of her life, and she spent much of that time in Wimbledon with her sister, May, and my great-grandmother, who was their mother. It was in that period during which she established several schools, as we heard, using very modern approaches to education, and that she met and became inspired by Swami Vivekananda. She and May also became close friends to the brilliant and famous Indian scientist Jagadish Chandra Bose and his wife Abala. May, Margaret's sister, Nivedita's sister, married her husband and then had 3 daughters. The eldest of whom was Margaret Bose Wilson, as you will know the name from Margaret, her aunt, and Bose from the Bose family, whom they were very close to. My grandmother moved to South Africa after the First World War, where she married my grandfather, who was Harold Morgan. They had 3 sons, John, Michael, and Christopher. Christopher was my father. And indeed, Sarada had met him before he died a few years ago. He did. As you said, he passed you lots of letters which I shared, and it was a lovely thing to see there. So at this point, I'm delighted to introduce members of my wider family who have been able to be here today, and I'm really grateful for the efforts they've made to be here. So can I introduce my wife, Annette? Maybe she sat there. And then my daughter, Juliet. And my son, Mark. And Michael, so we have Michael's grandchildren here, so we've got Brett, who's here, and his fiancée Vicky, and then also Nicole, who's another grandchild, and Mike at the end. It is fair to say that I and the rest of my family and others have learned about Sister Nivedita and their connection to our family. The admiration for her achievements and legacy has been profound. Today represents a fitting recognition of that, and I can think of no finer location for the statue than outside a school whose vision is, as we call Norm Reed, educate successful women for the future. Because it's so close to Sister Nivedita's own views, that of Swami Vivekananda, and of the Ramakrishna order. So it's a marvellous thing. The only insight that my cousins and I had of Sister Nivedita was that my uncle, Michael, grandchildren over there, had Noble as an unusual little name. For reasons that are not clear, we never heard about Sister Nivedita's children, or even heard about their life until Sarada tracked us down and made us aware of his family connections. We all owe a huge debt of gratitude to you for that. Having been a GP for 30 years, I'm aware of the impact that one can have when circumstances means you play a key role at an important juncture in someone's life. However, it pales into insignificance when one considers how many lives have been irrevocably changed for the better by Sister Nivedita and the work she did. I think I'm speaking for all of my family when I say how immensely proud we are to be associated with a woman whose selfless dedication to the education of girls, the empowerment of women, and to the Indian people has left such a lasting impact on this world. Thank you very much.
Respected Saraswati and all the distinguished guests, I all come from India and representing both the Wimbledon Krishna Shivatendra as well as Institute of Engineering Management. It's primarily a University of Engineering Management. And I'd like to read the message received from our director. He is not only director, he is the founder member. So Dr. Sati Chakravarti, just reading them. Respected Revered Swami Sarvasvananda MIC, Ramakrishna Vedanta Society, London, distinguished guests and audiences. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver this message on the auspicious occasion of unveiling the bronze statue of our Revered Sister Nivedita, an educator and humanist. She became a teacher at the age of 17 years and taught in different schools around Ireland and England before establishing her school in 1892. She made Swami Vivekananda respectfully called Swamiji when she visited England in 1895, and she was attracted with universal principles of Vedanta, and Swamiji's humanistic teachings accepted him as a spiritual teacher before she left England in 1896. Her great level of devotion impelled Swamiji to give her name Nivedita, means dedicated one. She came to India primarily to help Swamiji to educate women and opened a school in Calcutta, where she tried to blend Indian tradition with Western ideas. Her notable and humanitarian efforts were to serve the poor and distressed during the time of plague, famine and floods by virtue of her selfless service. She is affectionately addressed in India as Sister Nivedita. Her tireless activity, austere lifestyles and disregard for her own welfare eventually affected her health to fall, and finally this great soul led her Everly Award on October 13, 1911 at the age of 44 years only. Even after 100 years of her demise, Nivedita is still regarded as an icon of sacrificial life for the cause of women, education and humanitarian concern in India. We, University of Engineering Management, Kolkata, feel proud to be associated with this noble activity, remembering Sister Nivedita who sacrificed her life for empowerment of women, benefiting through education and in effect to build the nation. In spite of heartfelt desire, I couldn't be present personally at Wimbledon, London due to unstable health condition. I wish the unveiling function a grand success. Professor Dr. Sati Chakravarti, founder and president of Institute of Engineering Management and University of Engineering Management Group. I conclude with the Thakur Pranam Mantra. Sarvaya Dharmasya Sarva Dharmasya Rupine Avatar Vishtaya Ram Vishtaya. Thank you.
Hello everyone. It's really a joy to be here. As an historian, you don't always get the chance to be a part of a living tradition. And so here I am. Sister Nivedita was somebody who impassioned me. I think I'm one of the few people who can say that I've read every word of her letters in the various editions, except for the new ones that have been discovered. And I look forward to reading those. I've had a hard time trying to convince people about the importance of Nivedita in the West. I was amazed when I worked in Calcutta how easy it was to find traces of her, especially in Bazaar, which I went to see, and literally on billboards where she's still heralded in Kolkata as the kind of leading figure in sanitation and hygiene for the city. I also called my book about Vivekananda, Guru to the World, the life and legacy of Vivekananda. And so because of this emphasis on legacy, the last 3 chapters of the book are on her. It's been so interesting to see. There have been those who reviewed it and said, well, why did she include her? It is exactly as it's been said today, that without her, Vivekananda's story is inexplicable, and the reach of global Vedanta can only be misunderstood. As everyone else here has said, she was an unusual, even pioneering woman. She was fascinating, and she was full of contradictions, because she lived in a very contradictory time, a time of empire, and as we've said, a white woman in a country that became her adopted country. Everyone has mentioned that she's a progressive school teacher, and she was obsessed by the notion of experience, that you did not need to teach little children how to count 2. All you needed to do was point to one cheek and then the other. And when she was embracing the ideas of Ramakrishna, she said in her correspondence and also in The Master as I Saw Him, that that was what Ramakrishna taught her on the experiential and spiritual level. Ramakrishna used to take mud and gold, and he used to throw both into the Ganges. And she said that was experience of spiritual truth, that these were mere objects, they were material things, they were not important. There was nothing like what went beyond both mud and gold. They were equivalent. What's really interesting is that when Vivekananda came to see her school, he actually is said to become tearful, because he thought that she expressed in her educational method the notion of an experiential spirituality that he had seen with Ramakrishna. But when she came to India and she had to change her whole life, she had to lose her idea of empire and the idea that she would make India and England love one another. She actually believed in empire. She actually believed that England was a good thing for India. And instead, he said to her, your patriotism is a sin. It's a form of attachment that's incorrect. And through these lessons, working with the poorest against plague in India, in Calcutta, it wasn't just against famine, but against plague, that she actually disowned her own heritage and she hoped to become an Indian with Indians. There are other things that she did in India that were remarkable. She became the Western spokesperson for Kali. And so she set aside all the cliches about Kali worship as primitive and degenerate, and used them instead to show how the goddess of creation and destruction proposed a vision of Indian dynamism and strength that very much opposed the Western stereotype of Indian passivity. And so, with works of this kind, she was vital to the establishment of many new ideas in Indian nationalism. And so, she was often associated with some of the great Indian thinkers, political thinkers of the early 20th century, people like Sri Aurobindo and Bipin Chandra Pal. Now remember, poor Swami Vivekananda didn't live live to see Swadeshi, the first mass movement to free India from colonialism. But she was there, and she promoted not only the education of women, but local Indian crafts so that women could find economic freedom as well. And as we've been talking about, she was a pioneer in movements that had to do with history and art. She was a close collaborator with Okakura, who established the Asian art collection in Boston, with Rothenstein, who started the school of the Bengal School of Art in Kolkata, and of course with Jagadish Bose. In my view, some of his earlier texts, although he did the science, she did much of the writing. I believe that, and because of the letters, and also because of much of the phraseology, which is very much Nivedita's. And what I just wanted to finish on is a note about her recognition of the importance of women. We've all been speaking about it, but she was one of the few people that, when she first came to Calcutta, she didn't understand that there were certain customs and practices that she could not abuse. But Sharada Devi, the Great Holy Mother, immediately broke the normal customs of being a Brahmin widow and ate with her and welcomed her. And I think that the very moving pictures of Nivedita in her Western costume and Sharada in her most Eastern sari garb proves the attempt that they had at this moment to try and bring together the two wings of the Vedanta movement. And on that note, I think that in many ways we are all legatees at that moment. Here we are at the school, commemorating her with a statue, living in England, but having all the connections that everyone has here with India. Thank you very much.
Dr. Ullman, I can't think what your relationship is, but your background, your family background too. And I'm an educationist. I taught all my life and worked in university. And I'm a great promoter of education for all. And when I got my cabinet role, we changed it to education and lifelong learning, because I believe in educating from the cradle to the grave. Whatever age you are, you learn. And she is an inspiration. And many of the girls I taught in Merton in middle school, came to Big Hearts and had a wonderful life. And it's wonderful to have Kate as the recently appointed head teacher, coming full of inspiration again to carry on the education and enthusiasm. And as we're in a girls' school, for girls, that you do liaise with Rutledge and have the RR sixth form where you let the boys to give the opportunities, the education that's available on each site for both groups. Merton has, I have to plug Merton. Merton has a very good reputation in education at the moment. We're 75% of our schools are outstanding or good. That's above the national average and that's above the London average. But we work to improve. We work to improve in all areas, including the education of girls and our young males as well, young boys. But it is about educating and preparing youngsters for a life where they give to the community as well as develop themselves independently. But thank you for this most fascinating afternoon. I have learned a great deal, and thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
I was asked to do something very practical and material, which was to get permission to put a piece of bronze on the side of the street. And listening to that beautiful music now, I was thinking how material things how the air was dancing so beautifully, which is and how material things can carry a lot of poetry. And so what we did here at one level was quite simple, was to take Sister Nivedita came from here to Calcutta, and this was taking a piece of bronze that represented her and bringing it back here. And at one level that's very, very simple and practical, and we needed planning permissions and health and safety, lifting plans, protection of public pavement. But of course that's enabled something very poetic and beautiful to happen. And I'd like to just briefly thank well, everybody really, Sarah and her team for inviting me to get involved, and particularly London Merton for helping us to make this happen. And also, especially to the Castle Lodge School. Educating women will solve all the world's problems. It's the one thing that's been proven to make life better for everybody. And it's wonderful that, and we don't, what we need in young people is people who can think for themselves, who won't just give the answers that they're told to give. And the statue like this makes people think in ways that they wouldn't otherwise think. And it's such a wonderful role model for the girls of the Castle Lodge to see a lady who was not afraid to go into the culture that she didn't know, and to embrace it, and to explain that back to her own culture, and that this 100, a century almost has passed, and her work and her spiritual story is so very much alive. So it's great to be here, and thank you all.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. It's a great pleasure. It's a very auspicious day, 1st of July, where Sister Nivedita has found a permanent place in Wimbledon, where she began her educational career. But passing through all the vicissitudes of life, there's something central in her life which led her from Ireland to Wimbledon to India to America, and all that she did in her brief life which she lived was motivated by a few words which her father Samuel Noble had uttered when she was hardly 10 years old. He was about to die, and he told his mother, that is Sister Nivedita's mother, his wife, that I wish to dedicate this young Margaret to God. So the search for God, the search for truth, the search for freedom, physical freedom, mental freedom, and above all spiritual freedom, led her to explore a lot of knowledge systems. She had some grounding in Buddhism as well. Of course, she was well versed in Christianity, the basic tenets. And it is this search that led her on one fine afternoon, St. George's Drive in Pimlico, a small parlor meeting where Swami Vivekananda, she met her would-be guru, as Guru Harris has beautifully described as the guru to the world. So it is in this parlor meeting she heard something which nobody ever had spoken before. It came like a bolt from the blue, and she got what she was searching for. Swamiji mentioned in that meeting, after giving some background of Vedanta philosophy, he said something very significant, which struck her soul so deeply that she began a quest for that immortal freedom, that immortal search for the soul, the freedom that she was seeking, freedom, the search for truth that she was seeking. He said, we want a few men and women, someone here who can stand on the yonder street and who can say that I desire nothing except God. So unless that search for truth, that search for God was deeply influencing her, she would not have followed Swami Vivekananda and listened to every word of his, which to her was the fulfillment of her life's purpose. That search for truth, that search for freedom. It's a coincidence that a few days from now, on July 4th, Swami Vivekananda left his mortal body and entered into freedom. It happens to be the American Day of American Freedom as well, July 4th. That was the day he chose, and in fact he confided that that would be the day that he would shed this body and enter into eternal freedom. That was the freedom that inspired Nivedita, that search for freedom, that search for truth, that search for God which she was seeking. And behind all her activities, behind all her politics, behind all her the different vicissitudes of life she passed through, both in England as well as in India, was this search for truth, which obviously she felt before she finally entered into Mahasamadhi in Darjeeling. So this central love for certain values which she heard from her master, which has been beautifully expressed in this wonderful biography, which is one of the best biographies ever written on Swami Vivekananda. There are voluminous biographies, but the book Master as I Saw Him, if you read every word of that book, she doesn't claim that it's a biography of her master, only a biography of the master as she saw him. And I doubt if anybody has seen Swami Vivekananda much better than the eyes of Sister Nivedita. She will listen to every word, every sentence that he uttered, and every one of that she dedicated her life to. That's the meaning of the word Nivedita. She was totally dedicated not only to the cause of women, which Swami Vivekananda asked her to do. That was part of her mission, no doubt. Political freedom that she encouraged the Indians to fight for. Education of women. Because she heard from her master Swami Vivekananda that Sri Krishna was born in this age. And he raised the level of women to that of motherhood by bringing his consort Sri Sharda Devi. Ruth mentioned about the confluence of the east and west, the beautiful picture of Nivedita where she's sitting with Sharda Devi, who was her inspiration. She, in fact, Sister Nivedita said Sri Krishna, of course, Swami Vivekananda had mentioned to her that the very birth of Sri Sharda Devi is to raise the level of women so that the motherhood of God established that idea. Sri Krishna incarnated, he came to this earth to do that. That was one of his main missions. Obviously, there was harmony of religion. Once Swami Vivekananda told Sister Nivedita, I can sacrifice everything. It was in the context of Kali Puja or Kali worship. She was fascinated by this idea of Kali. It's a wonderful concept, Goddess Kali. And she in fact wrote a book, Kali the Mother. Everyone should read that. But she was so fascinated that she asked a question of Swami Vivekananda, why don't you preach this idea of motherhood of God, the idea of Kali, which is unique. Western people do not even have that concept. So immediately he said that I teach only those things which are good for, which lead to universal good. So he told her, everything can be sacrificed for that one sentiment, that is universality. A borderless world, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, just pure spirit, worship of the spirit by the spirit. That's what she learned from Swami Vivekananda. And that was the message, the universal message. In spite of all the diversity that we see around us, try to find the unity, the universality which pervades the whole universe. And with that attitude, you do anything or everything that you feel like striving for. That was the central universal message, not only the harmony of religions, that was part of Swami Vivekananda's message, but the diversity which is leading to so much of quarrel, so much of ill will between nations, between people, between races. So he said, the day you try to see that universal spirit pervading these diversities, accept diversity. Without diversity there is no life. So that's why we find Sister Nivedita practically dabbling in every diversity that she could lay her hands on. Whether it's politics, education, painting, you name it, she was involved in everything. But the central theme which she had learned from her master, as Sri Ramakrishna had demonstrated in his own life, was that search for that eternal truth, eternal freedom, that eternal universal principle that would create a peaceful and harmonious world. And she said, you can sacrifice everything, all your patriotism. In fact, Swami Vivekananda himself inspired her. We would like to call her a patriot, because she fought for Indian freedom. But at the same time, as he pointed out, that your patriotism, the idea of patriotism that you are holding so dear to your heart, the idea of England, the idea of empire, all this patriotism, this idea of patriotism is a great sin. It is the same Vivekananda who inspired her, said these things to him. Are we not universal beings? That universal message was the central core of Sister Nivedita's message, and till the last breath, practically, if you read her works, the Cradle Tales of Hinduism, there are so many beautiful works. She wrote many books even before she became Sister Nivedita as an educator, as an educationist. She was highly intellectual and well known. She founder of one of the original members of the Sesame Club, Bernard Shaw, and so many great people. She was great in her own right, but at the same time, she understood the central message of Swami Vivekananda, which could not be compromised with. This universality, which ran through her bones, ran through her blood, ran through her nose. So she was full of that idea. And obviously, in her short life, she tried to bring out that universal spirit in everything that she did. And finally, at Darjeeling, a place where she finally merged into that universal spirit by the blessings of her Guru and Sri Ramakrishna and Holy Mother Sharda Devi. So it's once we try to read the beautiful book on her master, the master as I saw him, if you read every line, everything that she has written in that book explains to us how she learned her lessons. The master to whom she saw, who gave her this kind of inspiration to become a truly human, a universal being into which she finally merged. Thank you.
Pranaram, Pranaram, Pranaram.